Hi, Tracy Baker for Baker Gets Cooking. Today we are going to make beef barley soup. Now it snowed about 2 feet of snow for us last night, and it's a cold wintry day, and so this is really comfort food. It's simple to make and so much better than anything that you can buy in the store. Basic ingredients, it's not fancy, but it's very hearty and comforting. So we're going to start out by browning the beef. Now I've got some beef here. It's stew beef. You can use a tougher cut, don't use a really good quality beef here. You could use like a chuck or a rump, that kind of thing. This is stew beef. So typically it tends to be a little bit more fibrous and tough, but it's going to cook for a long time and that fiber is going to break down, so it'll be fine. Now so when you make soup, you need to build layers, and the first layer in this soup is the beef that we're going to brown with a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to flour my beef with a couple of tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of flour. And the flour is going to create a nice crust and add to that depth of flavor. So we just toss the beef with the flour. My oil is nice and hot, and it's going to go right in there. I'm just going to spread that out evenly over the bottom of the pan and let it brown. Okay, so another way that you add layers of flavor is to season your ingredients as you go. Don't wait till the end to add your salt and pepper. You have to do it as you go so that each flavor layer is seasoned well. So the flour is going to stick to the bottom of the pan, and it's going to brown up nicely, and those little brown bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pan will be released when you add the vegetables. So don't worry about scraping them off just yet. They'll come off in time. The brown bits in the bottom of the pan add a tremendous amount of flavor, and that's what you absolutely need that for your good quality soup. Okay, so now I have golden brown bits on the bottom of my pan. So we're going to add our vegetables now. So it's a cup of onions, a cup of carrots, a cup of celery. Onions, carrots, and celery. It's a repeating theme. The holy trinity of vegetables. And you're just going to toss that around, and you're going to saute those vegetables a little bit. Add a little bit more salt and pepper. You can go ahead and add 2 cups of chopped white button mushrooms, or you could use brown button mushrooms, whatever you like. Beef and mushrooms go really well together, so it adds again to that depth of flavor. You just toss that together and let it cook for a little bit till the mushrooms have released a bit of water and are browned a little bit. So the beef and the mushrooms and the vegetables have been sauteing for about 10 to 15 minutes. The mushrooms have released a bit of their liquid, and there's a nice brown glaze on the bottom of the pan. And I'm just going to add a couple of cloves of garlic. This is my wonderful chopped frozen garlic. You can find out how to do that technique on the anti-diced chicken thighs video. I always have that in my freezer, and it's very handy and great. So we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. I have 2 cups of diced potato, red potato. You want a nice starchy potato because you want, as it cooks, it's going to release a bit of its starch and kind of add to that really nice thick mouthfeel of the soup. I have 3 cups of pureed tomatoes. So these are just plum tomatoes that I have whizzed the immersion blender and crushed them. That's going to go in there. I'm just going to stir that up. And here's where you want to be scraping the brown bits off the bottom of the pan. So that liquid should help to release any of the brown bits that are there into the soup. We're going to add 6 cups of beef stock. Now this is This is purchased beef stock. It's an organic blend, and it's a tasty stock. You kind of have to experiment and see which one you like. Be sure to read the ingredients and make sure that you're not getting one that's full of chemicals. So after the beef stock, the next ingredient to go in is a 1/3 cup of pot barley. And barley is a great grain because it is gluten-free for those of you who are watching your gluten. It has a really nice chewy texture. It also will release some of its starch like the potato and kind of make that nice mouthfeel. And we're just going to stir that up. And the last secret ingredient is a 1/3 cup of salsa. Now this is my homemade salsa. You can use store-bought salsa if you like. Just make sure you read the ingredients. And that just kind of adds a nice little something extra. So I'm just going to stir that up, bring it up to a boil, and reduce the heat, cover it, and simmer it for about an hour till the vegetables are nice and tender. I'm just going to taste it for seasoning. Oh, the seasoning I forgot. So you have to taste everything, right? You can't assume that the seasoning is perfect. You actually have to taste it. And it's very good. I wouldn't put any more salt in there. And then I've got a little cup of herbs here. I've got some bay leaves, and I've got some thyme, about a teaspoon of thyme, and a teaspoon of dried basil, and a teaspoon of oregano. And that's going to go in there. We'll stir that up. Turn it up on high. And let it cook. So this is my basic biscuit mix. I've made this biscuit mix for years, and my children love it. It's buttermilk biscuits. I think the buttermilk makes it nice and tender and fluffier. So to start with, we have 3 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and to that I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and cream of tartar, 3/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. So that just goes in with all the dry ingredients. So we're making a quick bread here, so we mix all the dry ingredients together, mix all the wet ingredients together, and then add the wet to the dry. Kind of basic quick breads 101. I'm using a pastry cutter, excuse me, pastry cutter here, and it's a useful tool. I use this a lot because I make biscuits a lot for my family, and they're inexpensive. You can get them at your any kitchen center, and even a good supermarket will have them. So now, next step with biscuits is that we need to cut in the cold butter to the dry ingredients. So I'm just going to get the cold butter from the fridge over here. So this is my cold butter. It's 3/4 cup of butter. I use real butter. I like butter rather than margarine. Margarine has a lot of foreign ingredients, chemicals, and that kind of thing. Butter just has cream and a little bit of salt. So I've chopped it into about 1-inch cubes, and that's all going to go right in there. And I'm going to use my pastry cutter to cut that cold butter into the flour mixture. And just push it through with your hands. Now this takes a little bit of time to do, but you just got to persevere and keep mixing. Okay, I think that's got it. So I have, the butter is in little bits, kind of about the size of small peas or oatmeal, and it's surrounded by all the flour, and that's going to give us a nice fluffy, flaky biscuit. So these are cheddar muffins, and at this point I'm going to add some cheddar cheese. So this is finely grated old sharp white cheddar, about 1.5 cups of it, and I'm going to just sprinkle that into the flour mixture and toss it around in the flour so that it doesn't all stick together in a lump. Now I like using white cheddar. The orange coloring of the cheddar that we have in North America, or a lot of the cheddar that we have in North America, is actually food coloring. It's not a natural food coloring either. So I've got a child that's kind of more sensitive to food dyes, so I like to use the white cheddar, and I think it tastes better too. Okay, so that's just kind of mixed together, and then I'm going to just make a well in the center of my flour, push it to the side, and I'm going to add all of my buttermilk. 1.5 cups of buttermilk. And then using a spoon, I'm just going to bring it all together, and it's going to come together in one kind of big lump in the center. Okay, now I'm going to use my hands because that's my best tool. I'm just going to bring it together. Still kind of damp in places. There's crumbs, dry flour in the bottom of the bowl, and that's perfect. I'm going to dump it all out onto my work surface. And now I'm going to make a little well in the center of that and add my green onions. So just using your hands, just kind of bring it all together, making sure that it doesn't stick to your countertop. Just keep kneading gently until the green onions are all mixed throughout and you have most of the crumbs incorporated into that. And now we're going to roll it out. So I just need a little bit of flour on the bottom and the top, and my rolling pin. And I'm going to roll this out to about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick, depending on how big and fluffy or fat you like your biscuits. My oven is preheating to 375 degrees. And I have a parchment-lined baking sheet. Let me move some of this stuff over. This is a parchment-lined baking sheet. I like to use parchment with this biscuit because it has the cheese in it. Sometimes the cheese likes to stick to your pan. And I've got a little 3-inch cookie cutter here, and I'm just going to cut little biscuits. Oh, they're so cute. And then onto my parchment paper. This is a big batch, but my guys love biscuits, so there might be a few left over, and they're good they keep for a couple of days. They also freeze really well too. Okay, and then with the bits that are left over, you just bring them all together and roll them out again. Same process. A little bit of flour. And I can hear my soup simmering away. The green onion cheddar biscuits are right out of the oven. They're smoking hot and they smell awesome. And I'm just going to remove them from the hot pan to the cooling rack, and because I use parchment underneath them, it makes things much simpler. You just kind of like so. The beef barley soup is just about done. I'm going to give it a final stir, and it's piping hot too. Just ladle a little bit in the bowl. Serve with a hot biscuit. It's awesome. What a great comforting supper for us. Let me have a taste of this. Really good. Yum. They go really well together. I hope your family will like this as much as mine. I hope you try this recipe. The recipes will be on my blog. The link to my blog will be below the video. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.